What's happening in the canine industry? For all the latest news, views, and expert opinions, stay right here for the Canine Paradigm. You'll hear from industry leaders, experts, doyens of the industry, learned colleagues, movers and shakers, and the odd randy guest. Get the latest insights and expert advice from both here and abroad from the people in the know. Now, here are your hosts, Glenn Cook and Pat Stewart. And I'm Lofty Fulton, and I'm out of here.
Hey, Glenn, I reckon it's time for a new ad.
Do you reckon? We just went 14 months with the old one.
We don't even have sponsors anymore, so it probably was a good thing to take it down.
I think they just got so sick of it.
Yeah. So we've decided to no longer take sponsors on the show. The main reason being it comes with a level of admin that we're just not prepared to do.
Yes.
And we want to bring you good dog training information. So there's really only two things that we're interested in telling you about before you come into the show. First one being Canine Paradigm. Glenn, hit us with the details.
Thousands of customers, mainly in Australia and in the USA. We'd love to get in other places around the world, which I think will be on the list. We've got 5-star reviews to the galore. We've had skeptics, people who just don't believe products such as Canine Paradigm can do anything for their dogs. They've tried it. They've come back and they've said it works. It's made a massive change, or it's made a mold change, or it's made a change. That was one of the things Narelle was always working towards. She makes sure she does the science. She likes to peer review everything she's trying to do as much as possible. These things aren't just done by chance. She has done a lot of work, a lot of prep getting it to where it is. Extremely proud of her for all the effort that she's put behind it. Not just because she's my wife, not just because it's our business or her business, but because it works and it's done what it says it's going to do, and it's at such a great level as well. So if you're looking for something to improve the health and well-being of your dogs, you can't go past Canine Paradigm. Check it out online, canineparadigm.com.au.
I love it. I, this year, am changing the way that I teach. I am an educator. It's what I love to do, and I've been trying to find the best way to do that. And in 2026, I'm launching a subscription service. In the past, people have had to buy my courses. You own them outright or you own them for a period. And that has been great, except that it does cut some people out because of the high price point that they can't get in on, where a subscription service allows people to come in. So if you want to check out what I'm doing this year, there's a ton of really high quality information, as well as community forums, live calls, and all that kind of stuff within the Serious Dog Business community that I've launched. There'll be links in the show notes, or you can jump onto the school platform and search Serious Dog Business. You'll find me there.
Let's just remind people that if they do want to support our show, they can head over to Patreon. We always do a wrap up at the end of the show, but Patreon keeps the lights on. If you want to support us, this is the only financial way that the Canine Paradigm gets a cash influx. Our government takes half of it, being in Australia. That's what they like to do. Nonetheless, we have exceedingly appreciated your support. People like Buffhead, the Sugar Mama, massive shout out to them because they were huge supporters of the show. And also, as I've said in my one-man band show that I did just before this, George Kittredge, loving memory of you as well. Thanks for your patronage as well.
All right, let's do it. Welcome back to the Canine Paradigm. I'm your host, Pat Stewart, and I'm joined today by my co-host, Glenn Cook. Hello, sir.
Hello, sir.
How are you? You've just got back from a whirlwind trip of the world.
I did.
Southeast Asia.
Yes. Yeah, I was over in Malaysia judging a PSA trial for Dr. Toe's club over there. After that, I was jet setting off to Thailand to judge their trial as well. So second one for Malaysia and second one for Thai, which was quite exciting. I've been to Southeast Asia before. I opened the Vietnam trial. So that was the first ever trial in Southeast Asia. And then I got to do Malaysia and Thailand. So I've completed the ring of PSA clubs in
the Golden Triangle.
The Golden Triangle, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So, mate, it was absolutely fantastic. It was, apart from going over there with a leg injury and, spoiler alert, I ended up getting an infection in my leg towards the end of it, which was an absolute pain in the ass because I thought it was all healing up nicely. And then right by the end, I noticed it was getting a bit angry and red. So my Thai hosts took me over to a very nice hospital over there, which was very upmarket and fancy, a lovely private hospital. Went in there and the doctor said, unfortunately, you've got an infection starting, so you're going to have to open her up and clean her out. I spoke to them over there. Long story short, again, I just said, why? Why would this happen? He said, probably because you were using the wrong type of bandaging, like a waterproof bandaging, and it's prevented it from healing properly, and it's developed, like it's caught its own sweat and gunk and stuff like that in there, and it backfired, unfortunately. So, yeah, we've had to sort of start over again and open it up and clean it out and had surgery. I flew back to Australia before I had surgery. So landed, had surgery just to clean it. And now I'm sort of starting over again with rest and elevation and all the shit you have to do with it, which is just a pain in the ass. And it was a pain in the ass because it was actually feeling good, and I was getting my gait back and getting my stride and everything, and I was able to move around. But it also prevented me from going on some of the fun activities that the decoys were going on. They went to some, fun parks and just going out at night and stuff like that, where I was staying back at the hotels, keeping my leg up, having early nights, not drinking, not doing anything other than just playing the responsible, get better sort of card. But to get back to the trial itself, great standard, fantastic start with Dr. Toe's club in Malaysia, the Malaysian PSA group. Can't say enough nice things about Dr. Toe and his wife Po and all the crew that they've got over there. Just wonderful people, helpful, excited to be a part of the sport. They were just courteous, polite, lovely, kind, wonderful people. It was lovely. It was a very good experience. Dr. Toe's got this beautiful ground high up in the mountains in outback sort of Malaysia, just out past Kuala Lumpur. He's developed this field up there, and when you go up there in the mornings, there's just mist everywhere, and you can hear the gibbons whooping in the trees to each other. So you've got monkeys on the side of the road when you go up there, and then all the gibbons are calling out to each other. And yeah, it was just beautiful. And the people are lovely, like I got to meet some people from the King's Guard and the police were over there, and they were showing us their skills with their dogs, and it was fantastic. Like I said, can't say enough nice things about him. And it just cemented a friendship with Dr. Toe. He's just an incredible human being. One thing that I found out over there from one of the decoys, Yao, who is a Malaysian guy that I originally met in Vietnam, and Dr. Toe wouldn't say it himself. He's just such an unassuming, humble sort of guy, but he's one of the leading oncologists in Malaysia. He's an expert in lung cancer, but also he's been very well recognised around the world for being able to identify lung cancers with AI. Him and his wife she's an oncology pharmacist. So collectively, they're very medically minded and very learned people, doyens of their own industry, if you hear. But apart from that, great dog people as well. Very humble, kind, friendly, loving dog people. And I enjoyed their company. I enjoyed chatting to them and, finding out more about them and being part of that culture over there. To date, I've never had a bad experience in Southeast Asia. When I was in Vietnam, originally opening that, the people over there were just loving and friendly and kind and humble and excited to have us there. And they were same in Malaysia. The people over there were great. I ended up meeting Lee Johnson, the man from Birmingham who's living over in the UK at the moment. Lee was fantastic. What a generous guy he was with his time for the decoys. And once again, for me, going over there with an injury, he was more than helpful. He was getting the field set up for me. He was going through the walkthroughs. Just an incredible resource to have over there. Very talented decoy. He was just very, very helpful with everybody. Any coaching that the guys needed, he was stepping it out through everything he could possibly do to show them how to catch dogs better, how to do the drives better, how to set up scenarios better. Very patient, very experienced in a lot of that. He's got some wonderful dogs himself. He was showing me some images of his own dogs in trial. So wonderful getting to know Lee, getting to chat with him, getting to share some stories and some visions on PSA journeys. And I think he originally went over with Dom and Scott, two people from our club, and he was doing the third Vietnam trial with Katie One over there. He was head decoy for that as well. So he was able to advise Dom and Scott on a few things as well, help them out. I spoke to the boys when I caught up with them in Thailand. They were very appreciative of that. Then in Thailand, when we went over there, our senior decoy for that trial was Justin Campos. And I know that he's been to Australia before, but I missed out on seeing him and Jonathan Katz when they were over here because I was moving house at the time and couldn't make their seminar or catch up with them. But nonetheless, I caught up with them over there, and Justin was a great guy, incredibly funny, very talented decoy. Once again, another person, extremely helpful, went out of his way, bent over backwards to do anything he could to make that trial a success. Nice. On time, upbeat, got the crowd going. anything that I needed, he was there and ready for, as were Dom and Scott, which was just incredible to have, two of our wonderful club members and people that I value very highly in life, just as friends. Lovely to have that brethren of people around you and that fellowship of dog people around you, especially when you're in a foreign land and you're feeling a bit fucking useless because you're injured and you're just worried about everything. It was just nice to have those people around me. Very good results from both trials. Lovely to see the people in Malaysia. Dr. To got his first pass in PSA 1 with his German Shepherd Logan. It was all German Shepherds. It wasn't one Mallee there. It was all German Shepherds.
Yeah, right.
So,
okay.
yeah, it was a German Shepherd trial. He got his first pass in PSA 1 and he almost got his second pass on the second day, which is unusual to get. Logan, unfortunately, hurt his foot. He got a bit of a limp. We had to give him a timeout just to make sure he was okay. We went to continue, but he just lacked in points. He broke a few positions on it was the obstacle, the one with the tunnel in the middle where you've got to send the dog through the tunnel and the one decoy stands up out of a chair and another one runs away and then you've got to send the dog to one decoy. Mm-hmm. He just didn't collect enough points for that surprise scenario. So even though we're best friends now, I still failed him. So
well, that's the job.
And that's the job,
reality,
exactly.
right?
And the wonderful thing is that Dr. To took it like a champ. There was no bad sportsmanship. He was disappointed he didn't get through. He was looking forward to trying to close out a 1, but he fully accepted that Logan wasn't ready on that second day. And as I said to both crowds in Malaysia and Thailand, is that you never want to receive a pass that you didn't earn and you know that you didn't earn.
No.
And I'm not the sort of judge who would give it to you as well. Like, doesn't matter, like we could be the bestest friends in the world. It could be Narelle. If you didn't deserve a pass and the points just didn't allocate, I wouldn't compromise my judging position for myself. I wouldn't do it for the competitors because it's just not only is it unethical, but it just disappoints everybody. Like it lets everybody down when you've got a dirty judge or somebody who's playing favourites.
I think that's such a weird thing that anyone would want, right? Like I've got a printer. Like if I want, I can print out whatever certificates I've got.
You can go and buy your own trophies and all sorts of stuff. Yeah, and nobody was there that did that. Nobody put themselves or me in a compromised position. And that's what I loved about them is the sportsmanship was second to none. And even Justin was talking to me and he said, dude, the sportsmanship in this country is next level. He said they're such good sports. Even in Thailand, like a few people didn't get through in some of the scenarios there and they all bowed and took it on the chin. They were all just, everyone's disappointed. Everyone goes there to close out or get a certificate or get something out of the trial. But as I said to him, you do get something, win or not, you get something, you get experience. And that's what you've got to take away from the trial is understand what your game is showing you. And, like if you've got a strong game, how to continue on with that or even improve on it. And if you've got a weak game, how to go back to your training camp and saying, yeah, we've got a lot to work on. And there's a lot of things that we really need to change about what I'm doing or what this dog is doing or what we're doing as a club because it's just not working. Nonetheless, as I mentioned before, the standard was better than I expected at both places. The people that hosted over there, Nikki and Moo is just an exceptional handler, and she's got an exceptional dog called Bullet. It's the highest score I've ever given in a PSA certificate. She did a PSC on one day and then got her first leg in PSA 1 on the second day. Probably the highest PDC score I've given and definitely the highest PSA 1 score I've given. She got a dog they imported over from the UK over there, dog by the name of Bullet. I think he's a herder cross. Mate, fucking phenomenal dog. What a dog.
Yeah.
Incredible dog. He's not a out of control aggressive dog. He's a beautiful dog, beautiful looking dog. Obedience to the wazoo. Moo's a very serious handler. Like she didn't go there to fuck spiders at all. She went there to win. And boy, did she put on a show. Like the obedience was impeccable. It was just a joy to watch. Out of a possible 320 in a total score for PSA 1, she got 310.
Yeah.
And even then I was scratching to take points off. Like I was probably at that point being very surgical about thinking this is hard to take points off this dog and team because they're just so eloquent together. The dog's bite was as deep as you could ask, as hard as you could ask. He punished all the decoys. Outs were beautiful. He'd pop straight off. Moo was able to walk over to Bullet while he was on the decoy doing an out and guard, and his engagement, she'd just tell him to heel and he'd just pop straight back into her pocket. Beautiful focus and just heel off like one of the highest level obedience dogs you've ever seen. It Mate, it was just
nice.
it was a joy to watch. It was well above a standard that I expected.
That's awesome.
It's not that I don't think that they can't train dogs. It's just that they're very young in their sport, and just to be able to see that like at that high level. And as I advised her and her partner Nikki, you could take that dog over to Worlds and compete and probably place on a podium with how good the dog is and how well her handling was. I said, consider it.
That would be so cool.
Yeah, I
That'd
said
be
he's an
awesome.
amazing dog. I said you don't know what a great dog you've got, and what a, because like I said, he was the entire package. While we're taking photos, all the decoys were standing there in their suits and everything like that, and the dog's sitting in the middle of us, and he's just chilled out with everybody. He was just like, oh yeah,
Nice balanced dog.
beautifully balanced dog. And that was one of the things I really enjoyed about going over there. Like their training grounds was lovely in Thailand. The training ground that Dr. Toe's building up in Malaysia is just lovely. There's a lot of thought and a lot of preparation that went into it. And just having all those quality people around, the sportsmanship with everybody. And that's something that I grizzle about. And you and I sort of go backwards and forwards and talk about is just some of the shitty behaviors in the dog world and how people can be really fucked up with each other, and just some disgusting treatment that we're seeing online at the moment and people's poor behavior. And I saw none of that over there. I didn't see any bad sportsmanship. I didn't hear anybody talking shit or smack about anybody else over there. Not once. Not once. There was nothing that I could come back and say, oh, they were just terribly behaved people. In fact, mate, polar opposites. It was beautiful. They were so lovely. They were so kind. Anything that you needed or wanted, they would try and make it happen for you. Even when I got my wound started playing up at the end, moved heaven and earth to get me into hospital, make sure I was okay, make sure I was getting home okay, make sure everything was functioning well. I was in the best of hands in a foreign land with people that I've never met before, and yet they treated me like family. So if any of you guys are listening to this over there, I just want to say an exceptional thank you to all of you, from Dr. Toe to and Po and all the people in Malaysia, to all the people in Thailand, Nikki and Moo, and all of the decoys, Lee and Justin, and of course Dom and Scott, the boys from India, Gokul and Sai, Yol from Malaysia. You were all wonderful. You were all incredible people. Oh, special mention too for Thailand. One of the guys over there who works for Nikki and Moo is a guy called Toby. He's one of their kennel managers, sort of trainer guys. He's the first person in Thailand to close out in one weekend his PSA 1. So he did it on one day, and good scores too. Like he's a legit high level competitor as well. He's very, very good handler. He's trained his dog since it was a puppy. Toby, I've talked a lot about some other people. If you happen to listen to the Canine Paradigm, I don't know if you do or if anyone passes it on to you. I just want you to know how exceptional you were. It was just unfortunate that Moo managed to smoke you on the second day, because he got the highest score on day one with his PSA 1.
Yeah.
And then Moo beat him on the second day. But he's the first person, which he can never lose, to ever get a PSA official title in Thailand. So he's the first man, first competitor in Thailand. So he'll be on the leaderboard already, because no one can take that away from him. So
nice.
And a great job, Toby. You did yourself proud, and I loved watching you work as well. And also another incredibly helpful person who was able to translate, able to jump in, able to do anything that was required of him. So again, I don't want to dominate too much on this subject. It's mainly about the sportsmanship and the kindness and the extending your dog family and meeting wonderful people in a foreign land, and people that you've never really had much contact with or association with, and just finding out that they're far better people than you could have imagined they would have been. So
that's cool.
It closed out well, mate. Again, apart from the difficulty and the disappointment with the injury, in amongst all that, everything else was just fantastic. Food was great. Saw some cool things over there. I was comfortable. I was looked after. I was shuttled around. Anything I needed, it was there. Lovely experience.
Nice. Well, now you're back.
I'm back.
Walk straight into an impending prong collar ban in New South Wales.
Yes. How disappointing is that once again, our friends at the Animal Justice Party, Emma Hurst in particular, since she jumped on the gun banning protocol, I think she got a deal swung her way, which is how they trade off your liberties. Once again, that's what they're doing. So they've snuck it in allegedly under having dogs in hot cars or something like that.
Well, it was just a Facebook post. It was just, so like in similar to what happened in Queensland, is that the Premier puts out a Facebook post saying that, like, I think, if you look at things holistically, which seems to be fucking impossible for most people these days, but if you zoom out and have a look at it, at the moment, with the massacre in Bondi, there's a lot of like impending crazy shit happening all around the world, but especially sort of legislatively in New South Wales, like our state. And I think in general, people are very unhappy with the way that the way that their state is being run. I think that's a blanket everywhere. It doesn't matter what side of things you're on. Nobody's happy. What I think happened is, for sure, there's some kind of backroom deal, but the Premier just put up a Facebook post saying, what was it? It was basically making it illegal to keep dogs in hot cars. So like, yeah, no shit. Like, of course you shouldn't leave your dog in a fucking hot car.
Absolutely.
But with this is the specifics of what that means. And how does this affect, say, like a dog walker, for example, right? So like I'm taking my dogs out to go to wherever I walk them. I'm doing 4 at a time. Does that mean I then have to get all 3 dogs out to take it to the house of the 4th dog as I go to pick him up and bring him down into the car? Like, what happens? Or like your drivers that are going to pick up dogs for taking them to people's homes and delivering them to and from the kennels. Do they then have to, when they deliver a dog, do they have to get all the dogs out and walk that dog over to that? Like, it's just dumb shit. But what it is I think that's an easy win for the government. So like, you have a look through the Premier of New South Wales, Chris Minns, you have a look through his Facebook. Like, it's just hate. Everybody hates him. Everything that he's doing is just comments against like, you're a piece of shit. Everyone hates you. And every politician rightly is being told that currently, because they are all pieces of shit. Most of them.
They're lying, thieving, corrupt New World Order puppets. They're just actors on a stage doing what the World Economic Forum is telling them to do. And mate, that's become less conspiracy theory than ever before. Like, if you look at it,
if you don't realize that to be an obvious truth.
Yeah, we've been run by foreign interests now. Like, our own country, our sovereign nation is not run by Australia anymore. It's run overseas.
Yeah. So if you have a look, basically it was the same thing as what happened in Queensland, is that the state government is under a lot of pressure because they have been doing a very poor job. And a way that you can garnish support from the overwhelming majority of the public is to bring in and really publicly announce some kind of animal cruelty reform, because that's so easy to sell the public. If you and I weren't dog people and we didn't know that, like the amount of friends and family I saw that shared the post and were like, oh, how good's this, right? Because it just said like, it's going to be illegal to keep dogs in hot cars. We're doing more to, support and protect dogs. And then just a little one-liner, and we're also going to ban cruel prong collars, right? And so it's like, we intend to do this. You put that in the post gets shared and loved by all of the public because, it seems like a good thing. We're doing work towards managing animal cruelty. Of course, that's an easy win. It gets the government like a goal. They get to actually score a point against the public and say like, oh no, look, we're not completely corrupt pieces of shit. We're actually doing things to help your dog, right? And they can make that post. But then there's no consultation on like, why are prong collars being banned? Show me the data. Like, if they're cruel, show me how many convictions you have of animal cruelty of people acting cruelly with the prong collar. Why do we need to ban the prong collar? Show me the court case where somebody who was being cruel to their dog was able to get out of or found not guilty because they said, I was using your prong collar in the manner I was taught. Show me that case, because I haven't heard of it. I'm unaware of it. So like, where's the data? On what data are we banning this, other than, as you say, somebody has made a deal, right? And I think that's clearly what's happened. So of course, for all of us here in New South Wales, this is kind of the end of the line for us, because we've already had e-collars are already legal here. So now with prong collars, that's sort of the final blow of the aversive tools that most balance trainers are able to use. What I'll point out about the prong collars, especially in New South Wales, as I've said to a couple of people, like in my personal life who I've sort of spoken about it, I like, go and buy a fucking prong collar. I dare you. Try and find one, because you can't. Like, if you're just a random Jono, you're not buying a prong collar. They don't sell them in any pet stores. There's no physical stores you can go into to buy a prong collar, except highly specialized dog trainer stores, the kind that like a training facility would have, just like, here's like our 6 items that you can buy from us as you pick up and drop off your dog, right? Like, they're the only places that you can go in and physically buy a prong collar. And then online, you're going to have to know the specialist websites to go to that to do things. And they're all like Ironswick and a couple of others. They're actual dog trainer ones. They're not like, the public aren't buying anything off of those sites. They're going to Pedo or to wherever the fuck they go to buy whatever nonsense shitty rope toys that they have there, right? Like, not actual dog trainer tools. So I don't think that there ever has been a problem with prong collars. we have to be honest and say, like, of course, if you want to, you can fuck a dog up with a prong collar. For sure you can. In the same way you can fuck a dog up with a yellow crayon if that's where your heart pushes you to do, like if that's your intent. My issue with it is it clearly has just been a like, oh, we'll do this in order to make this backroom deal to facilitate whatever support we need in whatever other thing that we're doing. However else we're going to take rights off of people. But we will make it a big public win. And for 95%, 99% of the people in the state are going to look at that and go, oh, great. Like our state government is functioning. We actually have a state government who cares about me and my pet and is going to lengths to support me and my pet without actually looking into it. And so, of course, there has to be like consultation, and I'm working with people and, you know, I'm exploring every avenue that I possibly can to try and facilitate stopping this. All of the normal overt ones where you write to your local minister. My local minister is the Greens, so it's not likely that's going to have any effect. But yeah, you got to do all this shit. You got to do all these bullshit work the overt correct channels, work every back channel you can. But I'm basically resigned to the fact that I think prong collars are going to be banned in this state. Like I think you can see that coming. It's just really unfortunate because I honestly think that it is truly an overwhelming net negative for dogs, dog training, and the husbandry of many dogs to ban a tool like that. Because maybe, of course, I'm willing to say, like, of course, maybe there's a person who was going to use a prong collar that isn't now, and they were going to use it really badly and they were going to damage their dog with it. Like, of course, that's a possibility. That person could exist. There might be a few of those people who are now, their dog is going to be spared the suffering that they would have caused with the prong collar. However, what I can tell you is for sure there's thousands of people who can't walk their dog anymore, right? Like there's thousands of people who are, the day that prong collars are banned, now then have to look and make the choice of, do you get stuck in the house for the rest of your life and I'm not able to take you out because I can't control you without this aversive tool? Or do I choose to act illegally in order to facilitate real animal welfare? And I think that is that's the crux of these sorts of things, is that when you make up these kind of laws, you put a person into a position where the spirit of the law is to increase the quality of animal welfare. And so I'm now in a position of, do I diminish the quality of my dog's life? Do I actually cause my dog more harm and suffering? Or do I act illegally and in the spirit of the law by not diminishing the quality of life of my dog, right? So, because like, I can think of, off the top of my head, I can think of at least 15 clients that I've had over the years that will not be able to leave their house with their dog for numerous reasons. We're talking huge dog, small person, aggressive dog, like all the reasons the way you might need to go to like, okay, well, we're going to have to prong collar is the answer here. And like, never mind the dog training component, like people like you and me. Of course, I can facilitate balanced training without use of a prong collar. It's not going to be as clean. It's not going to be as precise. It's going to be much more difficult for the dog to understand. It's potentially going to be more aversive for the dog. But you and I will manage. It's those people that I worry about the most, the people who then are like, well, what do I do here? What are my choices? Do I act illegally and break the law in order to act within the spirit of the law? Or do I act legally, not break the law, and diminish the quality of life that I can provide for my dog? And that's the reality of the situation. I think there's a lot of people who would then say, oh, no, that's not true. Using the prong collar is diminishing the quality of life, blah, blah, blah. And those people are fucking morons who don't know what they're talking about. So go fuck yourself. You don't know what you're talking about. And I think that the majority of the people who have a lot to say about prong collars and why they should be banned have never used one and have never on their cavoodle had use for one. And I think that's a big part of our growing problem in the industry as well, is that we are allowing we're putting much too much value in the opinions of people whose opinions are very limited and from a very narrow scope. So we'll get people who will, like, oh, I think, prong collar should be banned. I'm a professional dog trainer. I have trained, let me quote, not quote directly, but give you some sort of real life examples. You'll have a person who says, I'm a professional dog trainer. I have this, and this certification, all from Force Free whatevers. I have trained more than 2,000 dogs, and here are my client records to show you that I have done that. And I have never in any instance found any need for a prong collar. And so that's the sort of person that we look at and we go, oh, wow, oh, holy shit, yeah, prong collars, let's ban them. But then you look and go, you teach puppy school. The reason you have 2,000 clients is because every 4 weeks you get 10 new puppies. And of course you'd have no fucking prong collar because you just teach puppy school. And when someone calls you with their aggressive dog that went through your puppy school, what do you do with them? You refer them on. Or they call you with a problem with their dog, any problem whatsoever that is either directly because of the result of your puppy school or just because the dog had these experiences and went that way. You might have the best puppy school on the fucking planet because puppy school can be pretty close to force-free, pretty close. You're not a person whose opinion is relevant on prong collars because you don't fall into the category of a person who would deal with that kind of thing. Then similarly, we then would have people say, oh, no, like I'm a specialist in aggressive dogs. I'm the guy that I have the aggressive dog website and I think all the fucking tools should be banned. And we go, cool, man, show me a handle a dog. No, not that stuff one. Get a fucking real one, right? And so we're allowing people whose opinion is worth shit, it's not relevant to what we're actually talking about, to influence the state of how things run much too heavily. And it's too difficult for people who really should have their opinion heard because they're not political people. They're not making the waves. They're not going to the things. They're not trying with all of their might to get a tool banned. They're just doing the actual fucking job of training dogs, using tools when it's an appropriate thing to do. So I'm big mad about it. I'm sort of angry at the political system everywhere for many reasons, right? Like I'm not happy with how things are going in many ways, but it's really difficult. And I think we all have to be very careful not to take that to the streets and turn it on each other. You know, like I think that's part of the problem. And I'm seeing a lot of that from dog trainers who are rightly fucking mad about many things that are going on in the world and are rightly pissed off at the way things are being handled by governments and their fellow citizens. And that anger and that contempt then spews into the interactions with those people and just creates even more fucking mess that we all have to live. That's my big rant about it.
Very justified one at that too, mate. And I want to circle all the way back to the New South Wales Premier, Chris Minns, who everybody is calling Chris Minge because he's just a piece of shit. He's just another weak sellout puppeteering politician who he's more about his hair, how his hair looks than doing actual justice for his community. It's like professional politicians. There's a couple of things they do well on the ladder, but I do want to put a placeholder on this firearms thing that's just happened. And I know I've talked about it over several episodes, but it's a case study and it should be looked at for how these creatures work and how we are losing the integrity of critical analysis for people to come in and consult, for people to come in and be asked their opinions on, for people who are in rural properties and so forth to do case studies on how this is going to impact them versus mummies in Double Bay who don't have feral animals destroying their backyards and ruining their crops. This whole thing, and I think this is the reason why personally this was so upsetting, but also for millions of other people why this was so upsetting is because they went in and did a gun ban based on something that was religiously and politically motivated. It was a killing between two religions that went on. One was the recipient of somebody else's atrocities and evils. And even though we're talking about radical behaviours, the government then stepped in with something that seemed very prepared, that it was in a drawer, ready to go, that Chris Minns was happy to throw himself on a sword for whatever and whoever is pushing his buttons behind the scenes. And I cannot understand how something was belted through Parliament with great haste, even when IEDs, which was improvised explosive devices, if anyone doesn't know what that means, they were found on scene, yet there wasn't, that was sort of shelved. That was like let's not worry about this. Let's sort out the gun issue in Australia. Whereas there isn't any gun issue in Australia because really, all of them, as been said before, are being accounted for and locked in people's safes. And allegedly, the firearms registry in each state knows where they are. So they're not on the streets. They're not running around rampantly causing chaos. There are criminal people who are doing that, yet the government chose to step in and just do like a fucking genocidal act and just saying, fuck you all, you're not having them. Or we're considerably reducing your capacity to own them. Why? Why was that the case? Now, that's the thing that I think is so many fucking people are steamed up about. And this is why some of these people should be thrown in jail in these government departments. And I don't understand how all these backroom deals have been done. The opposition didn't even act in opposition. They just agreed to it. And this is why their political parties are now falling apart. The Nationals and the Liberal Party have basically dissolved their coalition. You know, we've now got somebody who saw a fringe organisation, which is the One Nation group, now climbing in popularity because they seem to be the only political party in Australia representing Australians on Australian values anymore, where these two other fucking lousy sellout pieces of shit of just trading off Australian values, Australian rights, Australian properties, Australian management for God knows what. So if you're saying to me, well, where's this got to do with dog training, Glenn? What's it got to do with prong collars? This is where I'm getting to. I just fear that prong collars is just such an easy trade-off because there's not enough people to stand in the way of stopping it from happening, which is clearly what happened in Queensland as well. People, you know, like Kirsty Reid and Maggie, and there was a bunch of other people. I could rattle off names all day of people that were jumping on the bandwagon at the time to try and do it. Like I've said to people, I've seen this over decades now of this sort of thing happening. And there's just not enough people on our side of the fence who are fundamentally right. We're right about what we're seeing. We're right about what needs to be done. Yet we're being strong-armed and opposed by people who are emotionally retarded in what they're actually doing, who are stepping in the way of good judgment calls, of safety and community values for dogs. I mean, I can talk about this all day long. I can talk about it from my point of view and what I've physically seen through my own eyes and the gratitude of the people and the compliance of the dogs, not in a matter of sufferance, but a matter of, oh, okay, I know what I need to do now. I understand how I'm supposed to change my ways. This has helped me come to terms with that from the dog's perspective, because you can see that the dog is not sitting there writhing in pain. It is just simply making another choice. It's going, okay, so that avenue has been closed off to me. I liked it, but now it has to go through some extinction process because I'm not allowed to have access to it anymore. Because every time I try and do it, I get blocked. So now I found something else favorable. I can run to another behavior. So the dog's not trying to escape this behavior. It's just, and this comes through good training. Now I just find and select and look forward to another type of behavior because there's no point in spending time on that anymore. Much like ourselves. When we find that we don't have an avenue to do something and it's closed off to us, we just go, well, I did enjoy that, but I cannot do it for whatever reason anymore. That door is no longer open to me. It's just bricked off. Let's find something else that I can do, something of value. And this is what good trainers have been teaching people to do. But no matter the explanation and the science behind it, we've just got fucking sellouts and zealots. It almost seems like they're hypnotically tranced. They've lost their minds in this avenue of this is cruel, and because it's been suggested as such, there is no recourse for it. There's no discussion. There's no common language anymore where people can say, what's your experience in it? How many times have you used one? How many times have you actually seen anybody use it? How many dogs have you seen that needed it and have functionally come across because of it? What is the tell that you have or the capacity to be able to have some sort of authoritarian stance on this? Like, what is it that you possess other than an opinion that gives you the right to take this off me or take this off a dog owner whose dog is genuinely suffering in a public space? And this is why I have big feelings about all this as well, because I'm, mate, like many people around the world and many of the frustrations that it's not just seen on Australian soil, it is happening around the world. These things are happening around the world. Something is happening. Something's very wrong has taken place. There seems to be this very sinister and malevolent force that is just telling people, you don't really have any rights, and we're coming out of the shadows now to tell you that the ruse of control no longer exists anymore. I don't like dwelling on this too much because this is something that can throw you into a fucking deep spire of depression over thinking about these things. Often the loss of control, which is the same in my opinion, and from what I've collectively heard in peers and learned people in scientific studies and behavior around the world in both animals and human beings. feeling in control is where people feel like they have a grasp on reality and the ability to move forward with their life. Losing control is where serious mental health starts to take place, and physical health as well. So this is where I don't want to lose my total faith in humanity, because I do realize that I am, and you are, and many of us, we do form part of the rebellion. We're part of a collective of people who seem to be able to see through this mire and fog and say, what the fuck is wrong with you? Again, to go back to the gun thing, you don't have feral pigs running through your backyard in Double Bay or in Vaucluse or in Point Piper or anywhere like that. Why have you got an opinion on this? Why should you be the one deciding the fates of people in rural landscapes? Or is it that people like Coles and Woolworths, who are the biggest supermarket chains in Australia, are quite happy for farmers to lose their lands and so forth, so private equity groups can buy them up and trade off vegetables and products cheaper for their supermarkets? That's probably why you see none of these industries losing any fucking tears for people who are legitimately having their claims taken off them, or their rights or their birthrights or their generational lands taken off them. And that's where it comes back to my whole point about the prong collar. How the fuck can we defend that when we can't even defend something that there's millions of people who have an invested interest in, who do have formed political parties like the Sporting Shooters Association of Australia or the Shooters and Fishers Party, who is a political registered party in Australia, who actually lobby and get into government spaces? How the fuck can we stop somebody from taking a prong collar office if these parties can't even control a fucking government over a terrorist act that no Australians did, or no malevolent evil people who are dealing with recreational hunting, sport shooting, or keeping pests and vermin off their land? How the fuck can we defend ourselves in this sort of situation? And this is where it makes me big mad, and this is where it frustrates me, because the fucking Animal Justice Party just did another trade-off over this whole thing, and they're trading the rights and liberties of people who are trying to do the right thing in animal management and controlling dogs and being able to guide dogs to their best life. And this is just another disgusting display of political privilege that's removing and deteriorating the rights of ordinary people.
I think the hardest part about it is when so few people really understand dogs,
Or your rights. That's the other thing, is they don't understand the erosion of your rights and liberties anymore. And that's the thing that's been pinched from us. I think that's the landscape that fucking frightens me the most, mate, is just the infringement that just keeps taxing away percentages at a time. But the percentages seem to be escalating to a phenomenal amount of force at the moment.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. The tricky part for me is when you look at, say like a group of just random pet dog owners, and a couple of them might have some, quite high drive dogs for whatever reason, and you see the way that they grossly misunderstand a lot of the signals from their dogs. They grossly misunderstand why their dog is doing things, and the most obvious example we sometimes, we could use of this is the classic, like, oh, he's protecting me, nervous, dog is protecting me. So like we just see this gross misunderstanding of what a dog is, what a dog thinks and feels like, how they interact with their world, how they learn. It's heartbreaking. That's my real stress over it. Like I say, is that, for real dog trainers, it's going to be a huge pain in the ass. It's going to be a massive problem. But for us training our dogs, like we'll be managed, right? Like it's not like a dog can't be trained without a prong collar. It definitely is. When it's the right tool, it's the right tool. And that's when we use it. My big concern, like I say, is for the people who it is the right tool for them and then have to choose between acting within the law and outside the spirit of the law, or acting outside the law and within the spirit of the law, in that you're going to put people, numerous people, like I said, like just me alone, I can think of probably 15 people. So then however many balanced dog trainers there are out there, everybody's got a few. Surely you've got a few as well in your mind, that people that you've taught to use a prong collar and their dog can't function without it. And like, of course, the point of training is to fade the tools and all that kind of stuff, but we're not talking about professional dog trainers. We're talking about just normal people who want to be able to take their dog out of its house and walk it down the street. And I think that sort of, feeds into the conversation about training of those sorts of things. Like one time I've had someone kick back against me saying stuff like this, right? Like, and I often, where I sort of fall to is tiny handler, big dog, right?
Yeah.
When you get small 60 to 70-year-old lady who's walking down the street with her, and she weighs 50, 60 kilos. And for whatever reason, and usually it's because their child has left the country or something like that. You know what I mean? Like their adult kid has gone on a 2-year work trip to somewhere else in the world, and their dog is then staying with the mum, or, whatever. They've got this dog that they can't handle. It's too big for them. With the prong collar, they can teach a dog to walk calmly on the leash. They can now give this dog this great life. They can facilitate normal dog life for this dog. They can go wherever they need to. They're safe. The dog is safe. And then the argument that I've had, and it's fair to an extent, is to then say, well, why can't they fade the tools, right? Like, I don't walk my dog on a prong collar. My dog walks around a slip leash, right? And seldom does that slip leash go tight. But it's because I'm a fucking professional dog trainer. I've put in the work to do that shit. And that's the kind of level of work that with an average person, they just want to enjoy their dog. They don't want to have to do all the training stuff and be as precise as that in order to fade the tool. They just want to whack the thing on so they can walk down the street. And if they encounter the trigger, the problem, whatever, they're in a position to be able to deal with it rather than, and for sure that's management, right? Like that's a form of management that they're going to be in for the rest of their life with their dog, but they're happy and that's okay for them. The same person who isn't going to be able to fade the prong collar, right? So like a person who needs to keep that on just to be able to not get dragged into traffic by their dog, right? They are the same person who's not going to put in the fucking work to do the positive reinforcement version of that, right? So that's one of the things I think gets wildly overlooked is when people go, oh, you don't need those tools. We've all had it. You'll have someone say, what, you can't teach a dog to walk on a loose leash without a prong collar. And I go, no, of course I can. Of course I fucking can. It's fucking really easy. But I'm a professional dog trainer. As we know, things taught with positive reinforcement, especially shit taught with positive reinforcement over negative reinforcement, is super prone to extinction. So if you teach a dog to walk on a loose leash with positive reinforcement, you are going to be doing that for the rest of the fucking dog's life. You are going to have to intermittently be topping that up and reinforcing it. You're going to have to be the person that carries a treat pouch as you go down the park. And for some people, they're into that and they will do that, and good for them, right? That's a cool way to train loose leash walking. Totally. I'm with you. Go ahead. But the people who aren't able to put in the work to fade the prong, they are the same people who are not going to be able to put in the work to use the positive reinforcement. Like, it is not going to happen. So the dog's life gets diminished. And I think that's the thing that when people want to talk about the tool bands and they go, well, I don't like that. I want that band. I imagine myself with the power. Like, I think that's one of the things that we also have to confront is that to many people who want the tools banned, the reason they want that banned is because they imagine themselves abusing a dog with it. So when they say, like, if I had the tool, and I think this facilitates some of the gun laws as well, is they think if I had that, I would abuse a dog with it. And you go, yeah, but you're a piece of shit. Like you're a shit person, right? I'm not. I mean, I've got my ups and downs. Trust me, but I'm not going to put that on the dog and abuse him with it, right? So you don't have to hide from me or take from me the tools that can be used to hurt a dog, because the decision to hurt a dog unnecessarily and put that into category of abuse, the decision to do that happens in the heart and the mind of the abuser, not in the fucking hand of the abuser that's hanging onto the leash to pull the prong collar, right? So if you're the kind of person that's prone to do that, staying away from those tools, like, sure, you do that, but also go to therapy, man. Like, get that help, get that work, because if you think for 1 second, I believe that you don't use a prong collar because you would abuse the dog, but then you don't fucking do crazy shit to the dog when no one's looking and the doors are closed. If you think that if we don't realize that's the case with these fucking people, you're delusional. So the amount of force-free people we say, and there's some big names that have said this, like, oh, I don't trust myself with those tools. I might lose it and get carried away. You're like, do you fucking think we don't know you do that anyway? Do you fucking seriously think we don't know that you get frustrated and beat the fuck out of your dog? Like, maybe you would be better with the prong collar because you'd be able to facilitate the learning of the dog a little better and you might not get so frustrated. But similarly, you probably shouldn't own dogs. You should probably give a fucking psych a call and work through that shit yourself because you have issues. But I don't have that. I don't have that at all, right? I've got other issues. Don't get me wrong. I've got plenty of shit, but none of my problems make me look at a dog and go, I am more powerful than you. I am going to impose my fucking will on you and you're going to do what you're fucking told and I'm going to feel good about it. I look at a dog and I go, all right, man, I got some shit to teach you. I'm going to do that in the best way that I can. I'm going to communicate with you as effectively as I can. And there might be times that way that I communicate with you will be via pain compliance because you're a dog and that's how you think, feel, act, and understand. And then the dog goes, right, got it. And when I do that, if at times when I have to use pain compliance as a means to facilitating a dog understanding something, I do that from a place of love, empathy, understanding, and kindness. I don't have to go to that dark place in my mind in order to be able to do that. I can do that out here in the open. There's dozens of videos of me correcting dogs. I put them on Facebook. I put them all over the place because I got no issue with what I do with the dog. You're not going to catch me looking at someone saying, delete that footage, right? Like that's not how it fucking goes because I'm actually training the dog to understand what it is that I'm teaching it, not to take out my frustrations or to live vicariously through the fucking dog, right? Like I'm here to teach you how to do these things, not to impose my will on you just because it's my will. And then in the sport context of this is one of the things I think is, again, not understood, is like you just talking about going to Thailand, you see a lady, she's imported a dog, does incredibly well, kills it at the sport, the dog's nice and balanced, hangs out with the decoys. The issue, what I think people don't understand is like that dog probably is so balanced because of the way that he gets to express himself, right? So like I know it of myself, like I get terrified about this kind of thing in that the amount of dogs that I have put on the path to living a particular type of life and they live the best fucking life, right? So like people who involved in sport, because that will come onto the chopping block pretty soon as well. They're involved in bite sports. So they've got a Malinois or a Shepherd or whatever they've got, right? They've shown this dog the pinnacle of that dog's life, right? The dog usually sort of is their pet dog because these are just normal people, is their pet dog, lives their pet dog life with them. Like let's use like Gavin, who's been on the show, right? Gavin, who's in our club, has been on the show. Let's use his as an example. He has the most beautiful fucking German Shepherd I've ever seen in my life. Like physically looks stunning and is just the nicest, sweetest dog you'll ever meet. Gavin doesn't even own a fucking crate for the dog. The dog which drives me insane, right? The dog is just free in his house. He's a CrossFit coach. The dog goes to the gym every fucking day with him and hangs out in the gym. The dog's nude most of the time, doesn't even wear a collar, right? He's in a CrossFit gym where people are throwing weights around, yelling and screaming and slapping each other on the ass like CrossFit, I presume CrossFit people do.
They do.
And then he comes to the club. He trains his dog every day, right? You'll never see anybody that is, I mean, you won't see anybody more, but as you'll see plenty as, it's everybody that is into this kind of thing, as committed to their dog as him.
Yep.
He takes that dog out every fucking day. I see him around because we live in the same area. My dad dobs on him all the time because he trains his dog right near where my dad hangs out in the park and talks to people. He does all the sled work, all the things to keep that dog in the best physical health you can imagine. He does all the obedience. The dog can go anywhere, do anything. He brings that dog to club. The dog puts on a big aggressive show and shows me his teeth and barks at me and we bite. And then we lay on the floor and cuddle, right? Like it's the most balanced dog. And he's just an example of many, many, many. There's probably hundreds of people exactly like him doing the exact same thing. I just chose to use his name. What happens then? Because now the balance in that dog's life is off. So if he doesn't get to come to club and the dog get to do those things, eventually now that scale is all fucked up, right? So that's what I think people don't understand is this holistic approach to the view of dog training and the doing of the cool things that you maybe don't like. Maybe you look at it and go, oh, I don't think people should do that. And you go, yeah, that's cool. But what you don't understand is that it facilitates the dog being able to do those other things. That dog can't go to the CrossFit gym and hang out and just do nothing all day and be who he is for the life that he has, unless he's also coming to club and getting to blast off. He's getting to express the other side of himself because that calm dog that lays around but has all that power right? He has the other side of the coin, and the other side of the coin is the expression of that power. And if we never turn over that coin and show it the other side, that side will come through the calm side. And suddenly he's not going to be that dog that can be at the gym like that anymore. He's only that because he has a balanced life. And if we take away the ability to lead that balanced life with dogs in order to show them like, hey, man, this is what I need you to do in this situation. This is what I need you to do in this situation. And I'm going to force you if need be, because that's the reality of dog training. You couldn't possibly understand the stakes that are at play here. So I'm going to have to control you through to explain those stakes to you. If you don't have the total balance, when you take away parts of that, the whole thing falls over. That's what I mean is not understood when people talk about, when people who are not involved in the use of prong collars or the doing of bite sports and all that kind of stuff. If you're not involved in that, you don't understand what it will mean to take it away. And I think that's what's lacking in the world. That's what's lacking in the dog space. And when we zoom out and look broader at the political situation, is there's so few people who are like, okay, but how's this affect this, right? And of course, I am formally trained in that, right? Like when I was in the army, there's a lot of formal training in understanding second and third order effects is what we call it, right?
Yeah,
where you go, okay, like I'm going to do this and because I have whatever my goal is, but my goal, I have to have an overarching goal. Like what is it I'm actually looking to achieve? And then I have my goal within this action. And is my goal within this action congruent with my overarching goal? And are the second and third order effects also working towards what it is I'm trying to achieve? And like I said, anybody who is really, truly interested in animal welfare, who wants the lives of all dogs to be better, if you're thinking that banning prong collars is going to do that, you're wrong. You're totally wrong, because the second and third order effects that you're not aware of because you're not involved in these things are going to mean that it is a reduction in the quality of life for many dogs because you ban the prong collars, not an increase in the quality of life for many dogs. Of course, we acknowledge that maybe one or two people don't get a prong collar that were going to use it very poorly and give their dog a shitty experience, right? Of course, that's the case if you're going to ban prong collars. But for sure, there are thousands of people and their dogs whose lives are going to be diminished if they can no longer use that tool.
Mate, I've always credited you with very holistic view of many things, and you're one of the people that I'm happy to take advice on because I feel that my time with you has improved my knowledge and even my improvement as a human being. You do have this overarching and incredible worldview on able to look at subjects, pull things apart, and even prevent people from making miserable and drastic mistakes by shooting from the hip when really they need to sit back and analyze things better. And I think that's one of your superpowers, Pat. And it's something that I wish many other people would take on board or even consider when they're thinking about the futures of things like prong collars or owning a dog in general, because we're really at risk now of having so much taken from us, because it doesn't end with this, as I've tried to warn people and explain to them before. This is the beginning. It's not the end. And the people who think that it won't affect them, I've used examples of it before where I've seen avid, overly expressing force-free owners and trainers who then get their breed of choice under fire because suddenly advocates against their dog, and then governments are also supporting that and trying to back it up. And they're saying, this isn't fair. Why is this happening to me? Well, surprise, motherfucker. That's what happens. It doesn't end there. You don't understand. They're always looking for something else to take. There has to be. It's not like, oh, once we take the prong collars and the remote trainers, then it's going to end. It's going to be, no, what is the other problem now? What's upsetting the feeble, mouse-hearted people now? What's their problem? And then they'll say, oh, we don't like slip leads. Slip leads are horrible. Mate, this has happened with correction chains. Then they went to martingales because martingales was the kind alternative. Then no, martingales looks too much like a correction chain. Have to take the martingales, and so on and so on and so on. And it cascades into a snowball effect. There's always something. What my suggestion is to people as a call to action, punish the politicians, like punish them severely at next elections in whatever state or country that you are in. Like educate people on what these politicians are doing, how deprived and how disgusting they actually are, and punish them. Like, don't be a generational voter with your family. Go to the nines to tell people exactly what these people done and how they're trading off your rights and your liberties. Get rid of these people. I don't trust anybody in any political party. I really find it difficult to find a better politician. I somehow find that they're all very evil people, which is quite disheartening. As an example of that, like my family generationally were Labor voters. They were believer that Labor represents the working person, the working class people. I was educated.
Those days are long over, aren't they?
Oh, mate, they're so far from that now. There's such a trade-off. It's almost like the Antichrist in watching what they're actually doing around the world. It's just deplorable. And I'm not here to tell you who you should and can vote for. I mean, that's a right of yours that should exist. But for me, I would never vote Labor ever again unless something dramatically changed. Like, I used to vote Labor all the time. Like, they were my preference choice in local laws and federal elections. It was always a Labor vote. They would never get the steam off my shit right now. They're a horrible group of people who have traitors. They're treacherous traitors. And these people should be convicted of treachery in this country. And even what I've seen in other countries around the world, like, it is absolutely disgusting. And why am I talking about this? Like, why am I bringing this up? Because these are the people who ultimately decide our fates. And it's not even like it's a fair judgment. It's not even like there is equal consultation where they're bringing in educated people and saying, okay, well, we really need to listen to the validations on the other side of talking about prong collars now, because, you know, we've got some educated, learned people here and also some practitioners who are showing us it's not what we're being told it is. But they don't do that. It's more about popularity stakes. It's like there's 100 people on one side and there's 10 people on the other. So fuck the people on the 10 side, even though they're right and they've got the facts and they've got the standing. The emotionally unstable people, there's 100 of them. That's 90-1. So I have to go with the other side on this. And that's what politicians is. If you think politicians is a fair game, it's not a fair game. If you think it's about equal consultation, it ain't. It's not about that. It's just a numbers thing. It's just about these rats trying to win their job back. And that's the sad and deplorable thing about it. I'm not saying to you, if you're listening to this, give up. I'm not. I'm saying dig in harder. I listened to a really good podcast with Jerry Bradshaw on controlled aggression with Dr. Stuart Hilliard. Got a lot of mad love for Dr. Stuart Hilliard, as well as people like Dr. Melanie Uda, because these are people who are really putting their physical safety sometimes on the line to get out there and stand against the status quo and just say, let's really examine the science here. Let's pull this apart and let's create better supportive science when we're talking about these things. And that's why bringing somebody out like Melanie Uda is a privilege that we really should embrace when we're going to actually educate ourselves and learn from these people. Like, if you've got the ability to learn from people like Stuart and Melanie and so on, don't waste the opportunities, because these people are telling you the gospel. Like, they're putting their reputations, their safety on the line to move against people's popularity and their emotional beliefs. Like, they're actually saying, let's talk about real science, even though I'm going to get burned at a stake for doing so. They're talking about something that's truthful, but is considered heresy in the emotionally damaged society, the feel-good society. And fuck those people. Like, you are literally destroying the world one page at a time. The book of life is being unwritten by your emotionally damaged record. It's diabolical what you are doing. You know, like, I try and bite my tongue every episode about how disappointed I am in what these people are doing and have done to the world. Like, as I mentioned to you a while ago, if you look back at all of the wonderful things that could have been done and how humanity could be better off now through the trade-offs and buy-offs and, you know, corruption that's existed through the political manipulation of landscapes and so forth. I mean, we have been right royally fucked for a long time by the very underbelly of these people. And anybody that possibly does listen to this show, if you're part of that movement, well, fuck you to hell, because you have done so much damage to not only just the dog world, but even just the general humanity. And you should be damned for it.
You know, the issue really more than anything is just that lack of consultation. Like, of course, nobody thinks a dog should be left to die in a fucking car. Like, that's a stupid position to take. But like, so many dog people have specifically fitted out cars to facilitate a dog being in it all day, because that's what we do, right? We travel to events, a dog. If you can't do that, like, there are so many dog events that couldn't happen if people aren't allowed to keep a dog in a car. And
Mate, they radically change their lives. They funnel their fortunes into loving and looking after their dogs. Like, it's even deplorable that these monkeys in political bandstand get to actually have a say on this when you and I and all the logical people that we're around, when we look at their cargo setups, like their very expensive SUVs with their battery operated air conditioning systems and the early warning if the car turns off or anything like that.
Yeah.
Like
that's what I mean, right? So like look at, say, Jazz, for example, got 3 puppies that she's training. Like that's her job, right? Raise, train, sell. And so she's got a van that is specially fitted out, that it's got its own standalone air conditioning in the back of the van. She's got remote temperature sensing. So she gets a text message if the van gets above or below a certain temperature. But like, how does she do that if she's got 3 dogs? She's teaching them all to track. She goes out in the morning. What does she do with the other 2 while she's tracking with 1? Like this is what I mean. So like, it's just not thought out. And for sure, telling the general public, hey, don't leave your dog in the car, that's a good move, right? And punishing the fuck out of people who want to leave their dog in the car on a hot day without any facilitating it and damage their dog. Yeah, fuck those people, like for sure. Make that a thing that we go after people for, but don't just blanket ban it. And similar with prong collars. Like if you find someone fucking a dog up with a prong collar, charge them with animal cruelty because you're already not allowed to be cruel to animals. You don't need to ban the specific tool that they're doing. Exactly.
Like this is the fucking complaint that the gun owner people had through this last political bandstanding is the laws are already in place. Like you can prosecute people based on their level of malevolence and corruption and cruelty, et cetera, et cetera.
The problem is that the implication, and it's what the Premier said, is that the prong collar is an inherently cruel tool. But like we have the photo of him happily patting a police dog wearing one. So like, why didn't you accost those policemen and tell them they were being cruel to their dog on that day? Because they weren't, right? It's just dog training.
Because up until that fucking point in time, that fool had no idea what he was talking about. Yeah. All he did was got a brief over his desk. It's just part of his trade.
I doubt he even got that. Somebody else made that post. He probably doesn't even know anything fucking about it.
Yep,
doesn't
exactly
even
right.
know what a prong collar is. Couldn't pick one out in the fucking lineup.
Yep.
Anyway, well, that's dog training. That's life. Look, the world is a fucking weird place at the moment. There's a lot of anger. We're not immune to that. And it's very frustrating. Everybody is frustrated. No matter how you feel about anything, everybody's fucking frustrated.
Yeah.
And none of us are correct because there's nobody's taken in all of the information. And like, far be it from me to give you advice on anything other than specifically how to train a dog. But my thing is just zoom out for a moment. Just take in some of the information. Big one is don't get your news from memes. The amount of people that I see sharing memes that on Facebook and other places that like they think is political news. And then I go, wow, fuck, it would be a fucked up world if that were true. And 30 seconds later, I'm aware that it's not because I fucking have the facility, the capability to look things up. And you should do that too before you ruin your whole day.
Sage advice.
By being angry about something that is not true and then sharing it to try and ruin the day of other people.
Yeah.
There's no need. You could have had a great day that day. You could have seen that thing, been outraged by it, checked and gone, oh, it's incorrect. I guess I get to be happy today instead of outraged, right? Like, that's totally your choice to do that.
What a psyop the internet ended up being. What an incredible way to condition people to feel so much anger and rage and disappointment, and at some stages also great joy as well. But
mate,
the trade-off.
I'll give myself a little plug here. The new Serious Dog Business community thing that I've got going, I'm loving it. It's like a Facebook group, but it's not on Facebook. It's a completely standalone community. You log into there and you can talk dogs without having to experience any of the rest of the bullshit that's going on in the world. I'm loving it. Like I'm in there a lot. My doom scrolling time is now back to doom scrolling cool dog information and reading people's opinions on dog stuff. And, like we had someone asking about like, how do we stand a dog's ears up or sort of asking, is it too late that my dog's ears aren't going to stand up? Then another lady gets in there with like a fucking whole mega paragraphs on this is how, this is why. She turns out she's a full-blown expert in it. And I got to find that out. So I was like, oh my God, this is back to what like it was 10, 15 years ago in dogs where you just went, oh, someone's asked a question that I'm an actual fucking expert in and I would like people to know this. So let me give them a thorough and detailed answer that now they will share in my expertise. Like what a wonderful, what an unheard of thing, right? But we're doing it. So anyway, I'm enjoying it.
we've just come off I've come off a pretty political rant on things that have really stirred up things in my soul and my thinkings. Like you, mate, there is other places that I find great joy in, and I tend not to spend too much time watching the news or getting on social media platforms that are burning this, because it burns a hole in my very soul when I have to keep hearing about it. I think that's the learned helplessness that I feel from it after seeing something that should have been consulted in, something that should have been resolved or better resolved, I should say, was manifested in such a corrupt way that you just think, how do we navigate this? How do we circumnavigate this? How do we fix the landscape that's attached to this? So rather than that, I do tend to listen to advice that you gave me a while ago, and that is detach from it and spend time reading things or being involved in groups or activities that better serve your way of life. Even reading feedback that Narelle gets from her work and stuff like that, like reading about how people have had success and change and felt good about things like that. Like I feel good reading things like that because I can see something that, even though I'm not immediately attached to it, it's something that I'm still supporting and I'm still with her on this, that people are like finding relief, and there's no political fucking bandstanding around that or no corruption or anything like that. Like people are actually invested in fixing problems like you're finding with your school program, even other trainers who are finding that their little pocket of people are all moving forward together. Like that's hope, and that's something that I think that we should cherish and find good value in. The call to action is just be careful who you're handing power over to. Doesn't matter whether it's in your circle of friends or if it's in your political leadership or whoever. Don't take on a master that you don't necessarily want to have running your life down the track. Pat, you've mentioned this so many times. What's the point in taking on a master unnecessarily? Why are you handing your power to people who will use it against you? Like think about the circle of friends you're with. Think about the voting opportunities you have. Give this some serious thought before you just get angry or get emotional or feel that you just need to act on it immediately, impulsively. Think about it. Give it some credence. Count to 10 or answer that email the next day after you've had a night to rest on it and contemplate on it further. Have something to eat. Go for a walk. Stretch your legs. Do some deep breathing. Think about some of these things, because I've just had a very angry spray on here. But before I respond to a lot of these people, I actually do some much further contemplating now. I ask for advice. And talking about consulting, I go and consult with people. I go and consult with people who are more intelligent than I am. I go and learn from them. I go and get advice on, like how to speak about things better, or when I need to act on something, or if I just need to shut up and sit on my hands. Because sometimes that's the best course of action, is just to let somebody else do the speaking and just be there in moral support, or in votership support. But something like that would definitely give you a hand. Changing tracks momentarily, there's two men that I forgot to mention when I was doing my initial talk on all the wonderful people I met while I was over in Southeast Asia. And while I was in Thailand, I met two guys from the UK, Tom Britzman and Asa Wright, both involved in PSA, and I think Asa is involved in KNPV. He's doing some showings at the moment. Fantastic gentlemen, really enjoyed their companionship, had a wonderful time watching them working dogs and supporting the people at the trial. Exceptionally helpful guys, wanted to help with whatever they could at the trial, had great laughs with them, had long and interesting chats with both of them, and I've come away with a whole group of new friends and respect for people. That it's weird because you see people online sometimes and see them work and you don't know them, so you don't really have an opinion on who they are, or you might have formed an opinion on who they are, but meeting people, like having that old school face-to-face and sitting down breaking bread with people is really cool. And it's one of the things that another takeaway that I have from this is don't let other people's opinions of other people form your opinions of them as well. Like it's nice to meet people in person and get to have your own opportunities to find out, who is this person to me? What are they like in person? What are their interests? Do we share any philosophies together? Are they ethically a good person in general? There's been times where I found people may have suggested that somebody was a certain way, only to find out that I don't share that value or that opinion, which was great. I'm not saying that about Tom or Asa, because I'd only seen a few things that they put on their socials before, but meeting them in person, they're much better people than I could have imagined. So Tommy, Asa, it was great hanging out with you, as it was with Dr. Toe and everyone from Malaysia, Yao, and all those cool people. Once again, thank you for making my time over there such a pleasure, and it was an honor to have been asked to come over and judge. I hope you were happy with the time that we had together as well. That's all I have to say about that.
All right. Well, that's it. Another episode, Canine Paradigm. As always, if you like what you hear, I mean, you shouldn't probably have this episode, but like, rate, share, do whatever, all those things. It truly, you leaving a review is a huge help. Podcasts are a funny thing like that. Really, that's the only signal you can send to the algorithms of the hosting platforms that will let other people see and hear the show. And if you're a person that has gotten a lot from the show, I know lots of people reach out to us all the time, thank us, and say that we've been able to help them on their dog training journey when we do good dog training episodes. Appreciate you guys. And the thing that you can do to make that journey more likely for somebody else as well is just to leave a review somewhere, right? If you want to support us, that would be really cool. We have a Patreon. You can jump into there. There's like $3 a month, gets you a giant backlog of information as well as your stuff going forward. But the Patreon is really about the support of the show. There's a few different tiers. You can pay as much or as little as you want. There's different things available to you, but it's how we support the show. It's how we keep the lights on. It's how we keep all these things running. And we also have a spring. There's links to all this stuff in the show notes, but there's a spring where you can get in, buy yourself a t-shirt, like a giant poster wall tapestry thing. You can get all sorts of cool branded stuff of ours. Always really warms my heart when you see people in their training facilities with like our logos in the background. That's super cool. I really appreciate that from everyone. If you want to get in touch with us, the best way to do that is still jump into that Facebook discussion group. There's a huge group of people in there. Even if you're not on Facebook anymore, jump into that. But if you really want to get in touch with us directly, you could shoot us an email. We are info@thecanineparadigm.com. Love you all. Just be cool out there. Goodbye.